You pray, and when you're done, you're not sure anyone was listening. You sit in the silence after and wait for something, some warmth, some clarity, some quiet sense that it landed somewhere. But the ceiling feels closer than heaven. The words feel like they dissolved into the air. And you close your eyes tighter, you try harder, you reach further, and still nothing. So you do what every sincere believer does. You read another book on prayer. You download another devotional app. You set a 6 a.m. alarm you'll keep for 11 days. Before the guilt of missing it becomes its own weight to carry. You restructure your quiet time. You try journaling. You try silence. You try liturgy. You try spontaneity. And somewhere underneath all of it, a question you're almost afraid to say out loud begins to form. What if I'm doing this wrong? What if the problem isn't your schedule? What if it isn't your vocabulary, or your posture, or the number of minutes you log? What if the missing piece in your prayer life has nothing to do with technique, and everything to do with something you were never taught to look for? By the end of this video, you're going to see prayer differently, not as a discipline to master, not as a performance to improve, but as something far simpler and far more powerful than anything a method could produce. Think about your phone for a moment. When the battery hits 4%, you don't question whether the phone is broken. You don't assume the apps are failing or that the hardware has given up. You know exactly what's wrong. It isn't charged, so you plug it in. And within minutes, everything that felt sluggish and dim begins to function the way it was designed to function. Not because you fixed it, but because you connected it to its source. Most Christians treat prayer like troubleshooting a broken phone. They run diagnostics on their technique. They uninstall bad habits and reinstall better ones. They read the manual cover to cover. But the phone isn't broken. It's just unplugged. And no amount of troubleshooting changes a battery problem. Prayer was never designed to be a performance you deliver upward. It was designed to be a connection. A living current between a child and a father. And the moment it becomes a task to execute rather than a relationship to inhabit, you will feel exactly what you've been feeling. Empty, distant, like you're talking to a wall. Now hear this clearly. The disciples lived with Jesus. They watched him heal the sick, still the storms, walk through crowds of thousands. They saw miracles that would have ended any theological debate about who he was. And yet, after all of that, there was one thing, and only one thing, they ever asked him to teach them. They didn't ask him how to preach. They didn't ask him how to cast out demons. They didn't ask for a healing methodology or a crowd management strategy. In Luke chapter 11 verse 1, one of his disciples comes to him and says simply, "Lord, teach us to pray." Not teach us to pray better. Not teach us to pray longer. Teach us to pray. As if what they had been doing before, the hours in the synagogue, the memorized psalms, the prescribed rituals, as if none of it had produced what they now recognized in Jesus when he prayed. There was something in the way he did it that was categorically different. Something alive. Something connected. And they wanted that. What they were seeing wasn't a superior technique. It was a real relationship expressing itself in real conversation. Jesus didn't perform prayer. He lived it. And that is the first missing piece most believers have never named. Consider two men, both sincere, both committed, both would describe prayer as important to their faith. The first, call him the striver, treats prayer as the most important item on his spiritual checklist. He is disciplined. He shows up. He covers his list: gratitude, confession, intercession, petition. He closes with amen, stands up, and moves into his day. And he cannot explain why, despite his faithfulness, prayer feels less like communion and more like correspondence he isn't sure is being received. The second, call him the abider, doesn't have a perfect record. He misses mornings. His prayers are sometimes messy and unstructured, and honest to the point of being uncomfortable. But he has learned one thing the striver hasn't. He isn't trying to reach God through prayer. He is learning to remain with a God who is already present. The difference isn't devotion. It isn't discipline. It's direction. One is climbing toward heaven. The other has realized heaven already came down. That shift, that single reorientation, changes everything about how prayer feels and what it produces. So how do you actually make that shift? How do you move from the strivers exhausting reach towards something you can't seem to grasp, to the abider's quiet, settled confidence in a God who is already near. Here are 3 practical switches that change everything. Switch 1. The direction switch. The flip: stop sending prayers up. Start responding to a presence already here. Most of us were trained, whether we realized it or not, to think of prayer as upward transmission. We craft our words, we aim them toward heaven, and we hope they arrive. But Jesus told his disciples something that rewires that entire framework. In John 14:23, he said, "We will come to him and make our home with him, not visit, not check in. Make our home." The God you are trying to reach through prayer has already made his dwelling inside you through his Spirit. The practice is this: before you say a single word in prayer, pause 30 seconds. Acknowledge that you are not about to initiate contact with a distant God. You are turning your attention toward a presence that has never left the room. That one small act, that reorientation before the first word, begins to transform prayer from transmission into conversation. Switch 2. The honesty switch. The flip: stop presenting your best self to God. Start bringing your actual self. The striver edits himself in prayer. He uses the right language. He frames requests carefully. He thanks God before complaining, because that feels more spiritual. And underneath all that careful curation is a quiet belief, never spoken, but deeply felt, that God responds better to polished prayers than to honest ones. But look at how Jesus taught them to pray in Luke 11. The model prayer is shockingly unguarded. It names need directly. It asks for daily bread, not monthly provision, not annual abundance, daily bread. It names sin plainly. It names the reality of temptation without softening it. There is no performance layer in this prayer. It is the language of a child who trusts that their Father can handle the full truth of what they're carrying. The practice: write one prayer this week with no editing. No spiritual vocabulary required. Say exactly what you feel, exactly what you fear, exactly what you need. You will discover that God does not flinch at your honesty. He was waiting for it. Switch 3. The consistency switch. The flip: stop measuring prayer by length. Start measuring it by connection across the day. One long quiet time that feels hollow does less for your soul than 10 brief, genuine moments of turning toward God throughout the day. This is what Paul meant in 1 Thessalonians 5:17 when he wrote, "Pray without ceasing." Not that you must speak constantly, but that the posture of your heart remains open and turned toward God as you move through ordinary life, driving, eating, waiting, working. The practice is simple. Set 3 reminders on your phone today: morning, midday, evening. When each one fires, stop for 60 seconds. Not to deliver a prayer, just to acknowledge, He is here. I am His. I am not alone in this. Watch what that consistency does to the texture of your days. This is what changes when it works. You stop dreading your quiet time. You stop measuring your spiritual health by how emotional your prayers feel. You begin to move through your week with a low, steady awareness, not perfect, not constant, but real, that you are not navigating this life alone. The weight doesn't disappear, but you stop carrying it by yourself. And that changes everything. Prayer was never meant to be the hardest part of following Jesus. It was meant to be the most natural, not a performance, not a transaction. A conversation with a Father who already knows your name. It's not about saying the right words. It's about being with the right person. It's not about the length of your prayer. It's about the direction of your heart. If this video opened something in you today, type this in the comments: Father, teach me to pray. That simple phrase, that honest surrender, it matters. Share this with one believer in your life who has quietly given up on prayer. And if you haven't subscribed to BibleResolve yet, do that now, because we go deep into exactly this kind of thing every single week.